Kelly Partners stable chat, and it went backwards too. I knew it would. I've been trying to wait for the right time to get used to just be little kids, and I thought, no, I'll start it anyway. Grant Williams, Brent Stanley. I just had a very bad mental blank then. Sorry, mate, and it's your show, so it's all good. Proudly brought to you today by Kelly Partners. I've got to put this banner up for the sponsors, Dylan Barry and Paul Dobson from Kelly Partners in Melbourne, 96296744. I normally do these for harness racing people, and this all came about, Brent, basically because I mentioned one of your harebrained ideas in one of my last podcasts, and Paul Dobson rang me and said that you've already had a little bit of an association. Mainly, I think it might have been a night on the drink in Hong Kong, maybe about how it worked out. Would that be right?
Yeah, that'd be right. We unfortunately got stuck in the same hotel over for the Hong Kong International meeting, and that one night quiet drink turned into a week, and a couple of funny dinners. We
won't mention the dinners, but if anyone gets a chance to get this man or Dobbo on their own, they might mention a Chinese meal that, we'll leave it alone. It's okay. Don't go there.
No, we'll leave that with the cats.
Mate, we are here at Sutton Grange. And, this is a beautiful property, isn't it? It is a ripping property. It's been established for about 15, 20 years, would that be right?
Yeah, it'd be close around the 15-year mark. It was built by Peter Sidwell.
Yep.
I've took the property over coming up 6 years now, so it's going well, getting results out of here, and although it's a big property and it's hard work and maintaining it, it's just a pleasure to wake up to and walk in here and just you got everything on hand.
Absolutely, for the trotting guys at home, and we've got a good trotting bloke next door to you. It's a good trotting show, this show. Don't you worry about that. We'll wait and see.
I love the trots, just not the people.
But Max Graham and Ivan Collison, I think, had a fair bit of input into the property as well. So a lot of the local guys will actually know those. They live in the area, and I think Peter trusted the locals, basically knew their knowledge and all the rest. I travel around to lots of places as a horse dentist, and to do these sorts of things. This is an unusual place because there's lots of them set up where they're going to be pre-training places or full-time training jobs and the likes, and they don't work. This place works. Every person that's trained out of this property trains winners, and not just your run-of-the-mill winners. You sort of get the good winners. Why do you reckon it works, mate?
I think there's a couple of things. I think the ground itself and what they get out of it when you put a horse out in the paddock, they just do so well. There's obviously there's the right minerals in the ground where they do well. I think the height of it and the climate of it is very good for them. I think the weather's also good, and then obviously the track it's second to none, the track, and you've got the 650 uphill straight, full turning circle of 2,400 metres. It's a You can do a lot with them, and you can take them off the track as well, where you can take them out of the back paddock and take them through the creeks and with the cattle. And so, although they're in the stable area, they can do something every second day and be something different. So they're not stuck at a Flemington or a Caulfield looking at a brick wall and going to the same circle every day.
So you've covered off on all my slides in one hit. Unbelievable. I've got the track on now. 650 metre uphill climb. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So 650 uphill climb.
Do you know the rise?
It works out in metres. I don't really know, but I can tell you in plain common sense for a horse trainer, ex-jockey like myself, it's 3.5 stories.
3.5 stories.
3.5 stories it rises up from. So if you're standing on the bottom of it and you look up, you're pretty much on level 4 of an apartment or more case for more like for Grant, but he thought it was quite small. He's usually on the penthouse.
It's still going to be random, but the track is unique, and Grant's here because I did a podcast with Grant a little bit earlier. You can see that on Campbell's Comments website. I might as well give myself a plug as well. .com. Just go to campbellscomments.com, and it's racing at heart, and it's why we do it. But this track is a little bit unique, isn't it, Grant? And when I asked you why does the track work, or how did you train them when you came in, you actually said basically the way he trains them, you modify it a little bit for yourself, but it is a unique track. It's not the sort of track you could just come and start training winners, or you'd have to work it out a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, well, Brent's been here, how many years did you say?
Yeah, 6.
About 6 years. So he's worked the place out. So I wasn't going to come overnight and just be able to do my own thing. And it's a really good track. I'm used to the heavy sand at home. It gets our heart rates up, and I think having the hill, it just allows you not to go as fast as you do like on a flat track, and still get the work into them. So he knows his track, so I just lent on him.
Yeah, and your track, anyone wants to go and have a look at it, go to Grant and Alana Williams on Facebook page. I think that's the Facebook page, wasn't it? And your track is similar, but also very different. Like, I mean, it's out in the bush, got trees all around it, and the likes, you're going to have wildlife popping out of everywhere. But your track at home in Western Australia seems very deep, heavy sand. This has got a good sand cover, but it's a little bit different, and that might have half what you undone when this time in when you come over.
Yeah, mine's only 1,500 metres round, but the sand's a lot heavier. But with the extra distance here that they can do, it mirrors a lot of what we do at home.
Yeah. Does the big track, does that worry you, Brent? Like, or does it take a little bit of getting used to? Like, because it is so big and around. Because I mean, trotting people, there'll be a lot of trotting guys will be watching this, and 2,600 metres is nothing for us. But for thoroughbreds, it's a fair workout.
Yeah. Well, it is. But the bonus is there's not just one gap where you go on the track and you've just got to go that distance. There's different places you can go on it. The track you can, for those stays where you just want to get them a little bit of warm up before they do their long work. They go down the bottom of the hill. They go on down the bottom. They canter up there 650 metres up the hill. They have a nice relaxed walk, trot back down, and get back into their work. So you can trot, and that's the difference with the trotting tracks. You're in a circle and you just got to keep going around. You can't do different things. So where we can go on certain different gaps here, and so those sprinting kind of horse, or you don't want to do a lot with them. They just work over the shorter distances, and then you just work out your horse, and like the tracks. And as Grant said when he came over here, he had to trust in me. He told me where his horses were fitness wise and what they're going to. So I gave an idea for that, and I'd be doing the exact same thing. If I take a horse over there to be, this where the horse is at. Well, how do I work my horses on your track? And that's just a trust thing that you got to have. And it's still, I still struggle trusting him, but we're working out.
He's not helping me that much this time.
He's complaining. He's had two winners in Melbourne.
He's going to win another group race tomorrow. He's hard to please.
He is very, very hard to please, that's for sure. Two things I want to do. I want to send everyone to the Cloud9 Thoroughbred website, which is down the bottom there, because you can actually go and access... didn't need that. Great footage from Vimeo, which is a little bit hard for me to load up onto this platform, but at the same time you've got horses for sale and all the rest. There's a few lines I want to go there, but the cloud9thoroughbreds.com .au. Unfortunately, I've got to fix up part of that. I'll do that as I'm doing something else in a minute. It's just .au. Don't worry about the breads on the end of it. There's so many parts of this place I wanted to show. So the first part was the buildings and what it's all about. We're going to get back to all those other things. We can talk for an hour and a half. Who knows? It could be scary how long you two could talk for.
That's what I was asking for.
I'm a water drinker. It's an immaculate property though. And I've got all the pictures going across here now of all the buildings. I said about I've gone to a lot of places. The one thing about here, the horses are so settled, aren't they, when they come here, and even now, I should try and get some pictures of some of the horses behind, but they are so settled in the way they relax.
Yeah, and that's a main part of my training series as well, is that they walk to the track, they walk back off the track, they're in this lovely surroundings and settings, and that's a part of this big track that you talk about as well, that they're not at Flemington or a Caulfield or Cranbourne, where they're working with 400 or 500 horses, and there's 50 and 60 out on the track at the one time, coming past them, galloping past them, and going to and from. So they're in a relaxed mode. So that bit of longer work and slow work without doing galloping. I mean, you don't have to gallop all that way, but that longer slow work is pretty much like a horse at Flemington just going 1,200 metres, because they're hyped up. They've got horses going past them, coming towards them, and all that other atmosphere around them that doesn't give them a chance to relax. So. When they're in this relaxed mode, like you said, it's good. So you can train your horse how you want to train it, not have to worry about coming back with it, and try and get it to relax and not waste all of its energy before you actually get out on the track.
Yeah, and one other thing, and I've got a slide for it, so it's sort of half the reason. You say about how relaxed it is, but the boxes are a little bit unique. They're big boxes, and they're very open, and I'll actually throw it up so people can see it now. So they're quite big boxes, they're deep. They're concrete, which sometimes horses don't settle in them. They can be a bit cold, and horses don't tend to like those sort of boxes. But you got, I think they're 9. So each horse can see 9 or 8 other horses effectively in one bank, without even having to look out. So they're sort of in a little bit of a herd mentality, yet they're in boxes that are completely open.
Yeah, and that's a great thing about those. As I said, you know, the cement boxes with the sliding doors, and they've got the windows out the back. So, you know, they're looking over the property the whole day. They're looking out the front, and as you said, they're not cemented in where they can't see the horse next to them without putting their head out over the front of the box. They can, you know, they're right beside them. So it's a as you said, it's a bit of a herd thing, but they can't, you know, stand next to each other and kick each other.
Yeah, and I think that's, as I say, I go to a lot of other places, and this just seems to be one of those places that definitely seems to work. There is one other part I just wanted to ask you, Brent, while we were talking about all this. Are you going to name this wing that I've got on the camera shot now, and you guys can't see, you're going to call it Grant's wing when he leaves at all, or not? Like he's completely taken over one side of the barn?
Yeah, don't worry about that. He's taken over my house as well, and I'm not sure. I haven't seen the wife or anything lately. No, but no, it's. I tell you what, it's one thing as well. I mean, Grant and Alana, great trainers. They got some great horses, and while he's here, I'm learning all the time as well. So it's good to see that he can bring horses over here, and they can compete at the highest level, and they're happy horses as well.
Absolutely. But it must be good for you, Grant. Like, I mean, you know, this is the second time you've been here, but you're definitely part of the family now, aren't you?
Yeah, I definitely am. Yeah. Well, I am, whether he likes it or not.
And this has been a little bit harder because of COVID-19, so it's been a bit of a harder stay. One, you had to get across here a lot earlier. Some of the scribes in Melbourne are saying that you've only just got your horses across here, but you've actually been here for a lot more extended stay, haven't you?
Yeah, there's a few obstacles that we had to get over before we got here, but you know, like all the horses have settled in good. We had a little mishap with one of them, but the rest of them are very happy with, and now it's we're looking forward to getting to these races. They're all pretty much right now. We just got to put them in the right races. Yeah,
and try and get the winners. I just want to quickly. The swimming pool is behind us. It's great, and you like it. Like, there's so many things you can actually do to it. It's another reason to go to Cloud9 website, because you get to see the overhead shot of it, but you get the idea of it. You use a lot of the water walker as well, Grant. Like, you find that having all these things work as a training proposition.
You know, I've got a water walker at home, so you know that's in a lot of our programs, but it's mainly just for walking them in the afternoons. It's just an excuse to get them off the property. It's all obviously new surroundings. They spend a lot of time in the float. It's an outing for them in the afternoons, and it's ice cold too, so it's also doing a pretty good job with their knees and joints and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So you've only been training horses about 8 years, is that right?
6 years. 6 years with a forced holiday. So it's coming up 6 years. It'll be 7 years. But had a little bit of a holiday in between that. So and as I said, and that's it's still why you get a chance to keep learning from guys that've been doing it for a lot longer. And Grant's also a big bonus as well, coming from the trotting industry. I mean, the trotting people, not that racehorse people aren't, but they're workers. It takes a long time, to get it all done. They've got to travel hours. The prize money's not the same. It's a big effort. So, stepping into this racing game, you can be a little bit spoiled, a little bit where you can take your first horse to the races, and it only needs to be work for 20 minutes in the morning. It takes you to work one horse really, racehorse, and go at the race and win pretty good prize money. So, you get to ask Grant the questions about what they do with the trotters and how different things. And we actually drove past on the way back from the water walker this morning. We seen a little trotting gig. What are they called?
The old sulky.
The old sulky at the back, and I thought about buying that, and we'll get one set up. So just all different things. And the main thing of horses, they're a bit like humans. You got the mind game's more important than anything. So you have a horse that runs fast and can be happy, can be healthy and fit, but might be something upstairs that's just wants a bit of a holiday or to do something different. So it's just working that out and trying to find out what the right mould is to make the horse turn up the race day as happy as possible.
Absolutely. Back to your indiscretion, just so people who may not be aware or whatever, we're not going to go into the elaborate details. It wasn't a go fast or a go slow. It wasn't a positive swab or any way like that. It was just
sold a horse.
Stuffed up. Just a learning curve in life, basically,
So,
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. There's a lot of background to it, but it's been done and dusted now, and took the took the rap, and away I go.
Yeah, and you went for a bit of a holiday, and you get away. Does that recharge your batteries a little bit as well? Like when you,
I tell you what it did do, Paul. It gave me a reality check on life a little bit. I've been in the racing game my whole life. My father, brothers, cousins, uncles, either jockeys or trainers. So I've been working since a 14-year-old kid, non-stop, waking up at 2:30 in the morning. And I was a heavy jockey, so wasting and having 2 meals a week. Stepped straight into the training game, and and lucky enough I wasn't too bad at it, so I got success straight away. So I didn't get a break at all. Young family, so I went and hired the biggest caravan possible, and we travelled Australia. So it was sometimes things happen for a reason. I think that happened for a good reason.
Absolutely, and maybe Granny coming last year happens for a reason as well, because you get to sponge back off him, mentally. When I say sponge, like use his brain power, because it is unique, his brain, isn't it?
Yeah, no, well it is when you use it. No, but it is good, but I mean it can be a really tiring game. I mean any industry can be. This can be a tiring game, and a lot of people, your punters sitting at home are probably thinking, geez, I'd love to be in Grant Williams' spot with the horse. He's got to go to the race and that, but the behind the scenes, he's got to get into the races. They've got to perform. He's got owners to look after. He's got staff to look after back at home. He's left his wife and daughter back at home that he hasn't seen for coming up several months now. And it will be for another couple of months with this COVID thing. So it's a lot of things upstairs, and it's a game where you got to be fresh and you got to be happy where you are.
I said there to Brent that it's a learning curve going away for 12 months and the rest. Are you learning a lot right at the minute, mate? Like with this COVID break, like, and away from your family, or away from your young daughter,
definitely, yeah. It's not the ideal situation, but it's also what we do. It was how we had to do it this time, so we have to roll with it. You have to just have a crack, and I lean on these guys a hell of a lot. Just Brett's family, that gets me through the afternoons. Obviously, all the staff and the stable, the jocks here, we're basically relying on these guys just to keep us going and just give us a bit of a hand, but it's all working out pretty good at the moment.
A lot of the galloping blokes might be listening. We keep referring to being a trotting bloke, but just, you don't have to go into a lot of it if they want to go. As I said, go and listen to the podcast I did previously, but your trotting background and where you started from.
Yeah, well, I obviously am 4th generation trotting, so I was always going to do it. I probably didn't get into it as early as what people would have expected. It was probably 18, 19 before I started to really get involved, and I've been retired from the trots for about probably 8 years now, so had a good 20 odd year stint. It was good. I loved it. It was we had some winners. We weren't the best at it, but we weren't the worst, and we made a good living out of it while we could. But the opportunities, and obviously married Alana, and she was heavily in the gallops, and she's probably a little bit cleverer than what I am, so decided to just have a change of career.
You were good mates with Lindsay Smith and Justin Warwick as well, and that sort of brought about a little bit of the change, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it was. They sort of changed the way that we were doing things at home. They reinvented the wheel, if you like to say, just in the way that they worked their horses and that. And there was a few of us that come under that banner that we worked from and that, and they were good teachers, so we all went our separate ways.
Yeah, and all evolved from that, like to the extent now that Lindsay's in Warrnambool, probably shivering as much as what you are sitting on that stool right now.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah.
Brent, a lot of, as the trotting guys won't know that much about you, you were, I think, the youngest man to win a Caulfield Cup. At the time you were. I don't know if you still are.
Yeah, no, I still am. Talk about the Caulfield Cup. Hang on. I nearly forget it now. Is that longer?
Last night,
I was 17 when I won the Caulfield Cup, so I was still claiming apprentice. So, that was a great feat for me. But the same thing, I grew up in, my father was a jockey, grandfather, brother and cousins and that. So, you pretty much, when you grow up into like Grant said, 4th generation with the trots and that, first time he hopped in the gig, and the first time I hopped on a horse, it wasn't something shockingly new. You knew a little bit, and I think that's a bit of a plus. And Yeah, it didn't go too bad, and weight was always my issue, and that's probably why I rode the last 8 years. I rode overseas in Singapore, Hong Kong, Macau.
Why is that? Is it easy to?
Well, they only race twice a week, so it gives your body a chance where you race there on a Friday night or a Saturday, Sunday. And you're not racing again until the next week in Singapore and Macau, Hong Kong racing on Wednesday and one day in the weekend. So you've got those 2 or 3 days where you can actually go and have a decent feed and be half human for 24 hours. Where in Australia it's just punishing. It's every day, and I just had a run at Donald before.
Thank goodness it won.
So thank God, yeah, Dad heard it, but anyway, it's better than second. Yeah, got the chocolates, which is good. But it's just relentless here. It's like that for a jockey that has weight issues. It's hard work, and it's just not. It's really not enjoyable.
And that's why a lot of the heavier jocks, even Blake Shin at the minute, they take off overseas because they can still ride for the good dollars, but not as often.
Yeah, exactly right. It gives your body a rest, so you keep riding, because you can't just stop. Otherwise, it's going to take you another 6 months to get your weight back down and get your fitness level back. But their age was good for that, and it was really good for me as well. So a lot of the other horse today is won by Hong Kong clients of mine. I think 60% of the stables from Asian owners.
Did you, when you were over there, did you say to yourself, well, I'm going to be too heavy one day, what am I going to do, and learn to train, or were you just actually over there riding and just trying to make ends meet at the time?
Yeah, no, I pretty much spent my last 10 years driving every trainer insane that I rode for, and I was quite lucky in Australia. I rode in all the major races, and I rode for all the major trainers as well, so I never stopped asking questions, and I still don't now. The day I think I know everything, I should be giving it away. So I love learning, but I pretty much spent the last 10 years knowing I wanted to train. It was just a matter of when. So I just asked the questions of, why you did this with the horse, when I'm riding work. And because I was a heavy rider, I was riding track work all the time. So you got to get in pretty close with the owners, with the trainers, and the owners with their horses, where their program's going. So you learn how he trained the horse and what he done with it, and every horse is different. So no, I did learn a lot before I started training.
Maybe not the best trainer you learned off, because it might be an easy enough answer, but a trainer that you learnt probably a lot off that people may not recognise. Was there one that sort of stuck in mind? There's a few. I wouldn't pinpoint one. I mean, my uncle Frank Cleary. I mean, he trained a golden slipper winner with Catbird, Clan of Sutton second. So I grew up with him, and I learned a lot with him, and still talk to him all the time. But stable rider for Gerald Ryans and John Size, and riding for Freedman's, and doing all the mates, and just you do learn a lot of them. And it's amazing how different they all are. It's ridiculous how different they all are. Like John Size is a complete different trainer that I've ever ridden for. But he could run a horse 4 or 5 weeks in a row at the highest level, and performs every time. And then a lot of people, like your Lloyd Williams are the big ones, they'll race 3 times a year. So there's a lot of different trainers, but that's what you got to do, and then you just got to work out which horses what needs to be done with. So you treat your horses before you even know if they're any good or not. You want to know its attitude and what it likes to be doing, and then you start getting to a level to see if it's any good. I was fortunate enough, I met John Size before he went overseas, and he was a bit of a closed shop. Actually, a lot of people, there was a lot of different theories on how he trained horses, and but yeah, he didn't let a lot out.
And I did ask him a question one day while I was the only jockey he let ride work for him. He told me he trusted me, so didn't know me that well, but because he said I was one that actually had an interest with where they're going the next start. So so I was one of the only ones that rode work for him. So I still speak to him, and obviously he's a superstar trainer.
Once he found out I was a trotting Blake, we sat down on 2 drums and started talking.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
It's quite interesting how many of us thoroughbred trainers love speaking to you trotting guys, because it's the same thing. You've got to make sure you got to tick the boxes and get it all right, because you don't have that many opportunities when you get a good one. There's a handful of races where the thoroughbred game is, especially over here. There's a race worth 140,000 on every Saturday. There's 8 of them.
Yeah. Granny, was there a trainer that you've said about the Kersleys and the Warwicks and all the rest, was there someone that left the field that you learned off either through the gallops or through the trots, just something,
Yeah, well look, obviously the Warwicks and the Kersleys and the trots, and more probably Lindsay in the gallops, and also Fred had the gallops too, like early days. So, and like Brent said, they're all totally different. But what they are they're all very good horsemen, and they get to understand like each animal and it doesn't really matter what we do with them as long as you understand what's good for that one animal. I think that's what you get out of all of them.
Is that one of the hardest things to sort of, I suppose, learn when you haven't had a good horse? You get a horse and it shows a touch and you think, oh, this is a good horse. So you think, but until you've actually had a good horse and possibly 2 or 3 others coming through straight after it, until you learn, like, is that one of the hardest things to actually get your head around? Like, you get one horse and you think, oh, this is out of the box because it can run, trotting terms can run a furlong in 14 seconds. You think, oh, I've got one that can run, but the good ones can run 5 of those sort of things.
Yeah, look, they all come into the stable and we all think they're good till the start, and then they get down the track and just those little tests, that the good ones, they never struggle, do they, mate? They just...
No, and that's the difference. The good ones do it just within themselves so casually. But those ones that you see, where you say, run time, you go, well, geez, I can run time this, but then it can't carry through the next furlong, or it only does it once. So that's, as a trainer, you got to go, all right, usually if that's the case, they'll probably peak once in its preparation. So you just got to get to that race and make a peak on that day, and hopefully get the result out of it, because it's hard to find good horses that go out and perform every time for you.
And that's the struggle, is trying to get those good horses, and used to are probably a little bit unique in a way, because you've had good horses, Brent, but right at the minute you probably had a little bit of a lull, like you're trying to get more and more good horses coming through all of the time, and then you got Grant comes over here with a barn of 6, and everyone's talking about him, Everest, Golden Miles, and the likes, and yet he trusts you on how to train here at this property. So you might not have the good horses in your stable. When a guy comes along and he's having a shock and run, he's winning a race a weekend in Melbourne, he trusts you. It must still give you confidence when you are needing that good horse to come in.
Yeah, Paul. Yeah, and it's very gratifying as well that you get a guy like him that trusts you with those kind of with the animals he's got in the barn and the race he's going for, But that's just something that why he's a good trainer is he's ticking all the boxes. It doesn't mean he's going to do everything I say, but he's getting an idea of learning or what my thoughts are. And the same thing, I've got a horse in tomorrow in a Group 2 weight for age race, and he sent it to me. So I mean, it's one of those things that I'm grateful for it. I do appreciate it, and and as you said, this time of the year, you've been my jumped out of ground.
It did win 2 starts ago in Melbourne. Like, just in case people think Brent's going terrible, he's not. He's actually not going terrible. I had a win today.
Yeah, no, but what you're saying is with the group horse, I mean. And this is the first, I can honestly say, the first horse I've had it's got no issues. Sweet Sherry won the $1 million Group 2 race, and Vervalicious won the $1 million race in Sydney for me. But they all had issues. They won good race and they were good horses, but they're never going to go through their preparation and get any better. Once they have those issues, you're just trying to keep them at the mark and try and get them to peak in that one race. When you get them right, there you get them for. But this horse is good. I've got a lot of babies coming through. But what I did do this year, I've done a massive clean out. Just clean them all out, just sticking with my main clients and doing the turnovers. So it got to a little bit of a numbers game where I had, I was working 45 horses and there was only 10 that could, win a good race. Well, I'm working, I think there's 35 here now, and 20 more go and win a race when they step out. So, and it makes you wake up a lot easier in the morning, because it's frustrating, as you know what it's like with whether it be thoroughbreds or trots or anything. If you wake up and look across to the stable door and you know that you struggle just going to win a race with it, you're better off not having them, because there's no money. I run at a loss with training fees, so I've got to be winning races to get prize money to cover costs.
Is that one of the big things? And you both, like you just basically said it, because you don't have the stock coming through. Yet, Granny, you've got the biggest owner in Australia, single owner, I think. I mean, someone might correct me on it, but if he's not, he's second biggest anyway.
3, yeah.
He demands success, and probably rightfully so, because it is a business to him. Is it easier at Brent's side that he says, oh, that might win one race, I'll move it on, and it wins 2, and the owner gives us, and everyone's had it, they all give us heartache? Or for you, you might say to Bob that this one's just a good country horse that goes out, wins 5 or 6. Is the pressure different, like with him and having a good team of horses just constantly around you?
I suppose it's different pressure. Brent goes out and he's got to buy his own horses for clients, like pick them himself. I'm probably in a lot luckier position where Bob breeds 40 to 50 a year, and they all come through my place. So We've got the odd one wrong, but you just got to try and make sure that you pick the good ones and look after them, and grade them too. Like, he's big on that. We've got to grade them very early, that's probably one of the hardest things for us to do, because he breeds a lot of like middle distance later horses, and we're trying to pick him at 2 and early 3-year-old, and they haven't really developed. But look, I think the pressures that, there's different pressures, but I'm probably in a luckier spot, and I don't know if I've got the eye to do what Brent could do. He goes and buys them himself, and that's where he's going to get his good one, whereas Bob, he breeds them, and I've got to work the ones out.
Yeah, it's a different, like, you're both.
Yeah, it's totally two different things. I rely on Bob, he relies on himself.
Yeah.
But that's how you want a good horse, you got to go buy one, don't you?
Yeah, exactly right. And then you're putting the old boys on the line as well. So they're not bloody cheap. So you can't make too many mistakes. So and as you said, there's two different things. So my pressure is spending. I've brought a couple of $1 million yearlings and that. So it's a lot of pressure. Where his pressure is training Bob's horses that are bred, and that that 2-year-old coming in the stable might be the 3rd or 4th generation from 3 other Group 1 winners. So he's started off on pressure already. So so it is 2 different ones, but it's just part of the game, isn't it? It's part of the game.
Do you love it, like Brent?
Love it. Wouldn't do it if I didn't. No, I actually love it. And sometimes I've thought to myself, geez, I wish I didn't like this as much as I did, because there's so many. When you have your kick in the guts, where your best horse breaks down, or something happens. You have a couple of bad days. You think, geez, it'd be so much easier going to work for somebody. Could I know some of our staff are getting more wages than me some weeks.
Granny, do you love it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Put the microphone up a bit closer. So
we actually had a morning this morning where we took one each to the jump outs at Bendigo. We actually chatted about it on the way home, didn't we?
Yeah, it was just the two of us in the car, and I was quite dirty when he picked me up. There was no staff in the car. I thought, shit, we're going to do some work here. but it was enjoyable. Yeah, but it's enjoyable, and that's what we talk about, and it's the same thing. It's we're together all the time on the property, and with this COVID thing, you can't leave each other. But go and do things like that, just the two of us. With you had a handy one, Katie Queen, she had a handy one, yeah. But but just you get, and you do that because you love it and you enjoy it.
But I think at some stage we just, how good's this? Like we went to the track, we had a couple of horses, we went to the water walker after it, and then come home. It's like what we love doing.
And then you're going to get interviewed by me, so your day just got better.
So it just got better. Yeah, we couldn't wait till you turn up. Well. But I think the best part of the morning was getting that Kransky at the servo, wasn't it? It was beautiful.
Yeah, Stable Chat is sort of to promote what stables do, and all the rest. And as I said, the reason Dubbo cottoned on that I knew you was because I did a stable chat with Mick Stanley, and everyone has different ideas. David Miles is a trotting trainer here, he feeds them once a day, and different ideas. But your idea, Brent, I spoke to you years ago at Kyneton when you first started in Neil Dyer's old stable, and we're talking about different areas, and I won't generalise where those areas were, but Kyneton is one place, pound for pound, for the amount of horses that they have in that area. They bat above their their weight division, basically, don't they? They train more winners, and they don't have. It's not like they've got high quality less horses. They don't have, but they just do a great job. And it's a little bit back to this altitude that I alluded to earlier.
Yeah, I think that's right. And obviously, probably one of the wealthiest guys in the game, and probably the most successful, Melbourne Cup parts, Lloyd Williams. He's just down the road, and it's all. I think it's all for the same reason, and it works. I think it just works. Plain and simple works, and. But there's all different things like the Warrnambool Beach things now. It's a big hit. It's whether it works or not and that. But this works for me because I know when I've got an average horse, I can get it to go and win a race, and it means something's working. It's just not being able to be a sensational trainer, but something's working with them where they're happy and they can get through a preparation and there's nothing to see one of mine race for 8 or 9 or 10 races through their prep, and they win their race before they go to the paddock.
You're from Canberra, so this sort of climate, and Sutton Grange is a little bit different to Kyneton. It is traditionally warmer. I mean, not always, but on a whole. But do you think the colder weather helps to train?
I think it's good for the horses. You spend a bucket load of time worrying about icing your joints and putting mud on their legs to keep their legs cool, and the water walkers and things like that. Well, you got it naturally here. got the open boxes where it's flowing through cool and that. You keep the horses back and kidneys warm, then the rest of their bodies will warm up. But I think it is good for their bones. It's a natural cool down for them instead of being stuck in the little boxes with no airs or anything going through and the temperature up where you've got to ice their legs all the time. And not that we don't do it, but I just think it's that extra 5% that is a little bit of nature.
That helps. I know you don't like the cold weather. We can see that the way you're shivering on the stool.
I'm right.
Just now.
It's just the wobbles.
but do you think it helps, like the cold air, the colder weather, or not?
Oh, look, I think it's a lot nicer on the horses, training them in the winter than it is the summer, and everything you're putting in, and they're not losing in sweat, and it's like us. We can go inside in the aircon, but what do? They're just got to get in a bit of shade and hopefully get a bit of breeze. But we can put a rug on them and warm them up, and they can eat in the winter. So I think it's more comfy for them.
When you go to when you're in West Australia, so everyone envisages that the whole of the state is hot. Where you're from, is it hot? Are you in Perth itself, or?
No, we're sort of 45 minutes south of the city. Look, we get the same sort of temperatures, maybe just a couple of degrees warmer than here, but we don't get the wind like you get here. It gets pretty wet. They're getting a bit of rain and that at the moment, but yeah, the cold's not the same as here, but I think that's more of a factor with the wind and that.
Absolutely. You said about Arcadia Queen. How did she trial, mate? Everyone on
good.
Twitter world will be wanting to know and see her hoping. So
yeah, she trialled good. We're happy with her. Now it's just about how she comes through that the next couple of days, and hopefully we can get her feet right.
Yeah. Well, think that's an exciting part, mate. Guys, I'll say thank you. As I said, this is something a bit different. Most of the galloping blokes will be looking, thinking, "Who's this guy doing chatting to these two clowns anyway?" So it won't be, mate. Brent's got to say something.
Well, no, I was going to say it was pretty easy. You're one of the best dentists going around. Hence why you're doing both of our horses, and you have been done for years. So absolute pleasure doing it.
Is that a wrap for me?
It's a big wrap for you, mate. It's a big wrap for you. You haven't seen the bill yet, have you?
No. As I said, I've got to say a big thank you to Dylan Barry and Paul Dobson. They provide the resources, I suppose, for me to be able to do this in the cash. But if you're out there and you're having troubles with COVID-19, he is Brent's accountant. That is one thing, not just his Chinese food drinking partner. He does his accounting work, but also if you're having troubles with COVID-19 with your small businesses, don't be scared to give them a ring as well, because they're there to help and assist. Guys, I must say thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. I hope the people out there have, and they might start following your horses. Anyone's waiting for me to get tips out of you, it doesn't happen. I don't ask for tips. I'm not big on the punt side of things. I like finding out why people do the horses, and I think people got a different side to both yous today. It's not just trying to win that big race and get a big pay packet, that's for sure, because if you did, you'd be doing, as Brent said there before, you'd do something else.
Yeah, no, thanks Paul, and thanks Kelly and Partners, and hopefully good luck to all the punters out there, and don't go onto both of our websites and get involved with it.
Absolutely. Granny, you don't have a website?
Yeah, we do, yeah.
Sorry, I was meant to ask that earlier and I couldn't find it last night. So what is that, mate?
It's Grant and Alana Williams Racing.
Grant and Alana Williams Racing. Yep. But I will say, go to the Facebook page, because that video, you both got videos up that are terrific. But that you got a couple. You got one where you had the 2-year-olds. No one gets to ride a 2-year-old or feel what a 2-year-old feels like, and it was pretty special to watch that. And then you've also got the other one where the horses working up the track, your daughter's in it, and everything else along those lines. So I think they're great. Actually, quickly, I have said goodbye to you both, but the marketing side of things, you guys have got to be right at the ball, don't you? You've both got your jackets on, and the Kelly Partners, but it is so important in the thoroughbred world, that marketing part of it, isn't it? Yeah,
I think it's just important to, for people to see who you are and where you come from. Like we got to put our own places out there, and that's just the way the industry runs these days.
Yeah, and you're big on it too, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it's a PR game now. We probably spend more time, talking to clients and that than we actually do with the groundwork. Once you train yours, get them set up, you got to rely on your good staff. So you got to have sensational staff, and to be able to, people go onto Cloud9 Thoroughbreds website and they can have a look at the property. As you said, there's videos there, and if there's horse available and hopefully they can jump on board. And worst case scenario, just go on the Facebook and send us a chat.
Very, very, very true. He's better than me at marketing, isn't he? He can drop more names. He can
Mate,
drop more names than
he's
anyone.
that good at marketing. He's got my staff, my jockey wearing Cloud 9 mask. I'm wearing a Cloud 9 mask getting interviewed. Willie Pike's wearing a Cloud 9 jacket, and so am my staff.
I'm a good kisser.
No one better.
Boys, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much to Paul Dobson and Dylan Barry. As I said, Kelly Partners, Chartered Accountants, get in touch with them for all your accounting needs and also COVID-19 needs. Good luck over the weekend. Good luck over the Spring Carnival, and hopefully we might do another one of these one day. Thanks, guys.
Cheers,
Thanks,
thank you.
Paul.